right, hello everybody. Welcome back to session 7 of the Activated series. We are almost finished with the sessions. Today we will be going into breaking patterns and cycles that make you feel small. So today I titled it, You're Not Stuck, You're in a Pattern. So over the last 7 weeks, we have been learning how to renew our mind. We have been healing emotional wounds. And then we have been learning how to walk boldly, confidently, with God and in authority. So, in all that He has made us to be. So, I'm so excited that you continue to watch, continue to join, and to learn and get the information that you need to go on your transformation journey into the woman that God has called you to be bold, to be confident, to heal, to think higher, and to do all of the things that God is calling you to do in this season. So I first, of course, want to go over a recap of what we have been talking about. If you are just now joining, here's what we've been going over. If you've been following along, here's what we've been going over. So we first talked about identity before assignment. So you are a daughter before a doer. You don't perform, but you operate out of who you truly are, your purpose. We talked about healing emotional wounds and why wholeness is necessary to unlock purpose, to unlock power, to unlock authority, and all of the things that God has for you. We talked about renewing the mind, walking in bold faith and what that looks like in action, and spiritual discipline. So, what disciplines do we need to continue to transform, to continue to become and grow? And then last week, we talked about strategic prayer. So, how do we structure our prayers so that they are intentional, effective, and purposeful, relational to God, so that they don't not be transactional? So, we have been undergoing some serious topics over the last couple of weeks, and it's all intended for you to transform, to get the information to transform. And when I say transform, I mean to become new, to become renewed, to become a better version of yourself. But transformation, it does not happen through information alone. So I've been giving you a lot of information, but I want to dial back a little bit today and help you to sustain those things that we have been learning over the past couple of weeks. Because transformation, it is sustained through patterns and habits. So today, we're going to be talking about habit formation, different patterns, different cycles that you may find yourself in that keep you small, that keep you restricted, that keep you limited in different areas and keep you from going forward in different spaces and places where you're trying to go to. So let's hop into it and talk about the truth of transformation and what that actually means. So, you don't become confident by accident. You become confident through repeated alignment. So we are not going to become confident, out magically one day, but it is through repeated alignment, repeated action, repeated habits, patterns that we do over time that is going to produce the confidence within us. It's going to be through repeated things of you making sure that you keep your promises to yourself. So if you say that you're going to be doing something, then that is what you're going to be doing. If you say you're going to stick to a certain schedule, then that is what you're going to be doing. If you have these 3 disciplines that we talked about in our last couple of sessions, then that is what you're going to be doing. You're going to be aligning your life, disciplining your life, transforming your life so that you can become in alignment with who God has called you to be. So these habits that you practice every day, they will either reinforce your wounds or reinforce your identity. So what this means is on your everyday routine, if you want to think about that right now, think about what you do from the moment that you get up to lunchtime, to dinner, to your bedtime routine. What is it that you're doing? What habits do you unconsciously do already? brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, putting your clothes on, eating a specific meal, going a specific way to work. All of these different things, different habits that you have, I want you to think about those and how do they reinforce either your wounds, those emotional wounds that keep you unhealed, that keep you not whole, and how do they reinforce the identity that we are trying to work towards, the identity that has already been destined, that has already been created for you. So I need you to think about that and how you are transforming. My habits are either going to reinforce my wounds or they are going to reinforce my identity. So think about that, meditate on that, and that is the truth about transformation. So it's not by accidents, but it is through repeat alignment. So the lie that keeps women small. So many women feel small because repeated internal patterns, not the lack of potential. We have so much potential. We understand that we outperform, that we are overly educated, that we can do most things that men can't do. We have children, we go to work, we start businesses, we get the degrees. We are overperforming at a higher rate, and we know this. However, it's never about potential for us. It's always about the internal patterns. And when I say internal patterns, I mean the internal identity, I mean the internal narrative, thoughts, beliefs, the values that you have. What is that internal process and what does that look like for you? How do you talk to yourself? What narrative are you telling yourself every single day, every single time that you encounter a certain task, a certain idea, a certain person? What is that internal pattern for you? But God did not create you to live small, but you were created to walk in identity, authority, and purpose. So He has already given you an identity. He has already given you authority, and He has already given you purpose. But it is up to you to live up to that and to walk that thing out. And when you walk it out, that means that you are reinforcing those habits that help you to walk in your identity, that help you to walk in your authority, that help you to walk in your purpose. And it's not going to be a easy journey, but it will be rewarding, but it will be purposeful. It will be impactful, and you will be changed and transformed as you go along the process. So Genesis 1:26 it says, "Let us make mankind in our image." And what this scripture means is that he is stating we are made in his image, God's image, Jesus' image, Holy Spirit's image. We are made in their image. So what that means is we're creative, we are powerful, we are purposeful, we have authority, we have dominion, we have impact. We have the ability to create and to do things that we have never seen before. If we are made in his image, then that means that we must reflect him at all times. And if your current patterns, if your current internal patterns, those internal narratives, if they are not reflecting who God has called you to be, then you are not acting in a way that you know that you are made in his image. You are acting contrary to that. So let me say that again. If you are not acting in a way that is in alignment with God's image for you, knowing that you are made in his image, then you are acting contrary to that. You are not acting like yourself. Simply put, there is nothing insignificant about who you are, what you have to offer, what God has placed on your heart, what He has placed in you to desire. There is nothing small about what you have to offer here in the earth. And I want you to realize that you don't have to play small. You don't have to listen to the narratives that keep you limited, stuck, and restricted. But you have to know that I'm created in God's image. And if I know that, then I know that I have the capacity, I have the skill set, I have the mind, I have the spirit, I have all of these things inside of me already predestined, already declared that I'm going to win inside of me. So there's no reason. It's just up for me to continue to walk, continue to reinforce those patterns that reinforce the identity, reinforce the authority, and reinforce the purpose. So let's talk about some character patterns that keep women stuck. So specifically talking for kingdom women, some internal patterns that silently shrink your confidence. I'm very big on confidence and making sure that women feel empowered, making sure that you understand that you have the capability to do, to be, to become, to transform into whatever God has already predestined you to be. So these internal patterns, when they come to silence you, when they come to shrink you, when they come to make you stuck, you have to recognize that this is not the voice of God. This is not the design of God for me and my character and how He has designed me, because He has designed me for authority. He has designed me for purpose. So if I find myself experiencing insecurity, lack of confidence, feeling like I need to compare myself, or just inconsistent, then I need to recognize, where is this thing coming from? When did I develop this pattern? When did I get stuck in this cycle? Identifying and becoming aware is going to be crucial, because these patterns, they slowly erode your sense of identity. When you are insecure, you're not secure in who you are. When you lack confidence, then you don't trust that you are becoming. You don't trust the path that God has placed you on. When you compare, you don't think that you are good enough. You don't feel like what you have is worthwhile. You don't feel valuable, worthy. And when you're inconsistent, that shows that you doubt, that you don't have total faith, that I'm going to do it one day and I'm going to draw back the next day. No, we need to keep a steady path of whatever consistency looks like for you, because it's not the same for every single body. Everybody is unique. Everybody has a personal journey that they need to go on. But when we allow these things to keep us in a cycle and we continue to operate in these internal patterns over time, your identity starts to erode. You start to lose who you truly are. You start to get sucked into who the world wants you to be. So I encourage you today to be secure in who God has called you to be, to confide and to have trust in Him, knowing that He has already called you to be worthy, to be enough, to be chosen, set apart, a royal priesthood, to be worthy of all of these things. And you owe it to yourself to be consistent. You owe it to your legacy to be consistent. See, I'm not just speaking to you right now, but I am speaking to the future generations that will come from you. Because what you are building right now is not just for you. The example that you are setting right now, it is not just for you, but it is for future generations. Other women, young women that will follow behind you, that will look up to you, that will recognize like she was a leader. She was powerful. She knew her authority. She knew her purpose. She knew her identity, and she walked boldly in that. She didn't allow these internal patterns to shrink her, to keep her stuck, to keep her silent, but she rooted herself in her identity and who God has called her to be. So here are some mindsets that create cycles. When we are in cycles, then we are stuck. There is no progression, but there is cynical, and it often causes us to keep going into a loop and a loop and a loop. We don't escape cycles if you don't have awareness. Awareness helps us to escape cycles, and they often begin in the mind. So when you're able to realize, I've caught myself in this cycle, I've caught myself thinking negatively, I've caught myself having a poor self-image, I've caught myself overthinking and constantly analyzing this. I've caught myself having these limited beliefs about what is possible. I've caught myself in this cycle of over and over again about what if it does not work? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm doing too much? What if they don't like it? All of these what ifs and all of these cycles that create these circles, these mental loops that draw us in and doesn't offer us space to escape. So I want you to just observe, what cycle have I created in my mind? What mental cycle? Am I having negative thinking towards myself, towards my business, towards my purpose, towards any area? Am I having negative thinking? Do I have a poor self-image of myself? Do I see myself as worthy? Am I constantly overthinking or overly analyzing stuff? And then, do I have limiting beliefs? Do I not think that the impossible is not possible? Do I not trust and have faith in God? And remember, Romans 12:2, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We have to renew our mind. Where we have to renew our mind. Negative thinking, overthinking, limited beliefs, they will pop up. But it's up to you to build the habit, to build the mental stamina, to build the mental, I will say, endurance, resilience inside of you to be able to recognize and to have awareness of these things when they come to your mind, when they try to intrude, when they try to keep you stuck. And you transform your mind by reading the word. You transform your mind by declaring out your mouth, by believing in your heart, and by aligning your behavior with these already declared, these already predetermined things that God has already made and declared for you. So don't get caught in cycles in your mind. And these are three of them that are most common mindsets that we find ourselves in. But when we renew our mind, we can escape these cycles. When we gain awareness, we can escape these mind cycles. So the ultimate goal is not perfection. We are not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Nothing in life is perfect. That is an illusion. So I want to come to disillusion you today. If you ever thought that I need this to be a certain type of way, it has to go this certain type of way, this is the only way that it can go, absolutely not. Because you are not the author and the creator, and you don't know the beginning from the end. You are just here to be used as a vessel. You are just here to walk along the path that God has already created for you, whether you like it or not. So the goal is not perfection. We're never going to be perfect. And that's something that we have to humble ourselves and learn to accept. So the goal is always going to be alignment. How can I align my mind? How can I align my behavior? How can I align my heart? How can I align these areas so that I can be in alignment with who God has called me to be? Transformation is all about alignment. I need my identity to be rooted and aligned. I need to be healed in alignment with what God has said. I need my mind to be in alignment. I need my prayers to be in alignment. I need my disciplines that's going to reinforce my behaviors to be in alignment. And breaking cycles, it means learning to live from your true identity, not from fear or insecurity. So when you break a cycle, you live from your true identity. So I'm not sure if you have encountered any cycles, if you have broken any cycles, but the most commonly one that comes to my mind is a generational cycle. If you have noticed, oh, I am the first, I am the only one, Well, why am I the only one doing it like this and everybody doing it like that? You have broken a cycle. Congratulations. And it should not be driven by fear or insecurity. You should not be fearful of that, to start something new, to go on a different path, to become in alignment. But you should be confident in knowing that this is my true identity. This is the true way that God has already designed for me to go, to flow, and to be. So transformation, it happens when your mind, your emotions, and your habits and your environment, it starts to align. So everything starts from the mind. Everything starts from a thought, emotion, then behavior, then your habits, then your environment. If you are able to target your mind first in those cycles of that negative thinking, of the overthinking, overanalyzing, or the limited beliefs, then you will be able to transform all of these areas, even your emotions, even your habits, even your environment, and ultimately your life. So we're going to get into three ways or three keys to breaking cycles, what that looks like. And like I said before, this is strictly focused in today. We talking about habit formation, what that means. But I want to go deeper into like three keys for you. So the first is habit formation. The second is emotional regulation and what that looks like, why that's important. And then the third is accountability. Accountability, because you cannot do this journey alone. You cannot walk it alone. Transformation requires other people, requires that you get into community, requires that you form new habits, that you are aware and that you are regulated and grounded. It requires these things. So key number one is habit formation. So habits, they reinforce your identity. So if you want to become a confident woman, your daily habits must support that identity. What are you doing on a daily basis? Are you praying? Are you working out? Are you eating healthy? Are you reading? What are you reading? What are you watching? Are these things reinforcing your identity in Christ as a kingdom woman? If they are not, then you have to do some time to inspect, what does this habit say about who I am becoming? Does this habit reinforce that wound to keep me unwhole, to keep me broken, to keep me away from God, or does it bring me closer to God? Does this bring me into my best version of myself, the healthiest version of myself, the kindest version of myself, compassionate version of myself, loving version of myself? Or does that habit not support that at all? So I just have two questions. Do my habits reinforce who God says I am, or who my fear says I am? So if I know I'm supposed to be getting up and going to the gym 3 days a week and I fail to do that, is that habit reinforcing me becoming a healthy woman? Me on a journey to creating a lifestyle where I can move more freely, have more flexibility, and be healthier, have longevity? Or is it reinforcing the fear of me not being able to do these things? Me being afraid to go into the gym because people might be watching me. Me being afraid to use the new machines. Me being afraid of just change overall. What does this habit say about me? So there is a difference when you are forming habits. They are good habits and there are godly habits. Good habits, godly habits. So good habits help you to function. Godly habits transform your character. Good habits, they focus on productivity. Godly habits align your spirit, your mind, and your behavior with God's truth. The main difference between a good habit and a God habit is performance. A good habit will have you to perform all the way through and through. I have to function. I have to be productive. I have to meet the mark. No, a godly habit is going to have you to transform your character. It's going to have you to align your spirit and your mind with God's truth because you know who you are, because you're not confused, because you're not fearful, because you don't think that you have to overdo because you already know that you are, and you start acting like that. There may be a lot of undoing that you have to do because we done accumulated some habits that may not be the best for us, and that's okay, no shame. However, when we are trying to improve our walk with God, when we are trying to improve our lifestyle and truly walk and think higher, to heal and to act boldly, then it requires us to come up to a higher standard. It requires us to act in a way that is godly. Not saying that we're better than anybody else, but we want more for ourselves. We see ourselves in a higher light, in a higher standard, because we are trying to see in a perspective, not even trying, we are seeing in a perspective the way that God sees us, and He calls us higher. So it's not enough just to be functional. It's not enough to be productive. It's not enough to be busy. But we have to get to the point where, you know, we understand that, okay, God is calling me here. And that requires me to leave some things behind, to change some mindsets, to change some behaviors, to change some environments, spaces, friendships, whatever that is, so that I can come up higher to be in alignment. Because you got to be on the same level. You can't be staggering. God can't be here and you be here and y'all speaking the same language. You have to be in alignment with Him. So I hope that made sense. Next, we're going to talk about key number two, emotional regulation. Emotions are for information. I have said this before. We observe our emotions. We become curious about them, but we do not allow them to lead us. They are not identity. They're not who you are. And they are not instructions. They do not tell you what to do. God gave us emotions so that we can have information about what is going on in the environment to keep us safe. So when we're feeling fearful, fear is not a bad thing. That's a human emotion. But when you are allowing fear to drive you, when you are allowing anxiety to drive you to do things, to become stuck, to become silenced, to become hidden, then this is where we have to call it into question as to, I'm not regulated right now, and I'm allowing my emotions to tell me who I am in this moment, rather than me commanding to my emotions, hey, yeah, I understand, I may be a little fearful because I got to speak in front of somebody right now. However, I got this. I'm okay. You have to declare out your mouth, speak boldly, and know God created me to do this. I am purpose for this. I don't have to succumb to this emotion, to this feeling, and I can act contrarily to it. So a kingdom woman does not worship her emotions or become led by them. Instead, she observes them. She gets curious about them and responds intentionally. So you observe your emotions. You get curious about this. Where is this coming from? And you respond intentionally, not reactively, not from a past situation, but intentionally so that you can soothe yourself, regulate yourself, not so that you can defend yourself, because God's gonna defend you either way. That's His job. And he already told us that in his word. And awareness creates freedom. So the awareness that we have creates freedom. So what that means is when we pay attention to the moments when you feel, if you are feeling insecure, triggered to compare, or inconsistent or discouraged, these are the moments that reveal where we need to grow the most. Take time to pause, to reflect. Why am I feeling insecure? Where is this coming from? And this will show you an area, a wound, and where you need to grow and heal in, where you need to get more revelation from God in. And healing, it begins with awareness. So we only become whole when we become aware, when we have revelation on this, like on this area. And lastly, for this, we want to align with your true identity. Align with your true identity. So you are not defined by insecurity or fear. You are chosen, you are set apart, you are called to confidence. In 1 Peter 2:9, it says you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. Align with your true identity, who God has called you to be, not who the world has called you to be, labeled you to be, created all of these things for you to be. But the actual creator, and I'm not going to say they created, they constructed a bunch of different labels, a bunch of different words. There's a total difference between creator and creation and construction. But you were not created to fear. You were not created to be insecure. But you were chosen. God wanted you. He set you apart to come higher, to come up, to align with Him, to lead, to be in His image, not the world's image. And you were called to be confident, to know that every single thing that He said in His word will, is, and has already been done. Point blank, period. And lastly, number three, accountability. So, transformation rarely happens in isolation. We rarely transform by ourselves. Now, if you have, please leave a comment and let me know. Hey, Jamesia, this period of my life, I am transforming in isolation. Let me know how that is going. At a certain point, you are going to need community. You are going to need people to help you to stay accountable on your journey, to help you from falling victim to shame, to doubt, to negative feelings, to backslide, to anything. You're going to need people to help you along your journey. God created us to be in community, to be with people. We cannot do life without people. So do not ever think that you are going to be on an island by yourself, thriving and succeeding. No. We talked about last time in this session that we are here to serve other people, to serve them our gifts. So whatever you have, whoever you are here to serve other people that very thing that God has given to you. And having people along your transformation journey is going to help you to stay consistent. It's going to help you to stay encouraged. It's going to help you to stay aligned with truth. These should be people that you share like-minded values with and are on the same path of you spiritually, going in the same direction, keeping you encouraged with the word, with the prayer, with some food, nourished, just creating healthy accountability partners and communities where you can transform into all that God has called you to be. So we're going to recap this a little bit, but we have to integrate and you have to know all these things, they integrate, they are woven together. So breaking the cycles, breaking the patterns, coming out of being stuck, being silenced, being stagnant, breaking the mental limits off of your mind, these habits. It's going to require that you renew your mind, heal your emotional wounds, practice disciplined habits, and align your environment. And this transformation it is built through daily choices. So when I have a better perspective, when I renew my mind, then I think better, then I make better choices. When I am healed emotionally, then I see the world from a whole perspective, not a broken or fragmented perspective. When I practice disciplined habits, then that means that I am acting in a way that reinforces who it is that I am becoming. I am sustaining my mind. I am sustaining my healing because I am disciplined. I am discipling myself with these things. And then when I align my environment, when I find people, when I get in spaces that call out who I am, who God has called me to be, then I can truly be transformed. Truly. So I want to take a short break and just share this as a next step. So at the end of this program, training series, I will be launching a coaching program. Enrollment is going to open soon, but it is going to be a more in-depth version of what we have been doing at the end of this over the last 9 weeks. Me personally walking with you individually and in group to renew your mind, to reclaim your identity, and to walk freely in your God-given purpose. So if you are looking to break mental cycles, to align yourself with God's truth, and to live with confidence and clarity in all that He has called you to do and to be here, this program is for you. So I just want to stop and share that because I feel like that is important. And for anyone who is on this call and you feel, led to inquire, please shoot me an email. But if this series has been helpful, if it has been giving you information and you are ready to move forward to activate on every single thing that God has been downloading over the past couple of weeks, this program is for you. So I invite you to apply when enrollment starts, and I am looking forward to working with you, to seeing you transform and to think higher and to live freer. Okay, back. So we got some declarations. So for my declarations today, I refuse to live small. I am chosen and called by God. I break patterns of insecurity, comparison, and fear. My alignments align with my identity, and I walk confidently in my kingdom authority. You refusing to live small. You are chosen and called by God. You break these patterns of insecurity, comparison, and fear. And your habits, they are aligning with your identity. And you confidently walk in your kingdom authority. Screenshot, write them down, take a picture, declare them over yourself. And I'm going to say this again because I've been saying it in almost every session. But your voice is an activator. You speaking life over yourself is so important. So you saying these declarations, you saying the word, you praying aloud, it's going to activate something. It's going to change something. It's going to renew something. Whether you think, whether you see it, it is doing something in the earth. So for a closing activation activity, I am asking you to, this week, just to reflect on these things. What pattern in my life has been keeping me small? And what habit must I begin practicing to reinforce my true identity? So transformation, it begins with one intentional step. So what will be that one intentional step that you are going to be taking this upcoming week so that you can start to begin your transformation journey? And then next session details, we will be meeting for session 8 on March the 12th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And we will be talking about stewarding the vision that God gave you. This is going to be good because without a vision, the men perish. So if we're going to be talking about how do I steward that? How do I do that well? You know, I'm excited. I hope to see you there. I thank you for joining me on this session, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.